Can phone records be used to prove adultery? Smartphones have become a constant companion in our daily lives, and in divorce court, they can leave behind evidence that may be hard to ignore. If adultery is suspected during a marriage, digital trails left on a spouse's phone may be used to support that claim. Phone records can help paint a clearer picture, offering clues that go beyond what might be said aloud. The law and phone records in divorce cases. Using phone records in a divorce case isn't automatic. Courts have strict standards when it comes to admitting digital evidence like text messages or call logs. First, the records must be relevant to the issues in the case, such as allegations of infidelity. They must also be authenticated, meaning it must be shown that the messages or calls came from a particular device and were not altered. Hearsay rules can also complicate matters. If the record is offered to prove what was said, it may be excluded, unless an exception applies. Privacy laws are also critical. Records that are obtained without legal permission, like through hacking or unauthorized access, are generally inadmissible and could lead to penalties. To properly use phone records, they must be requested legally, typically through a subpoena or court order. Can phone records be used to prove adultery? Yes, phone records can be used to help prove adultery in New York divorce cases, but with limitations. These records may include logs of calls, texts, GPS data, and even app activity. If the spouses share a phone plan, either party may be able to access records tied to that account. In cases where the spouse is not cooperative, a lawyer can petition the court to subpoena the data. Secondary phones, often used to conceal infidelity, can also become key evidence if discovered. While content of messages is harder to obtain due to federal laws, call durations and contact patterns are often enough to raise serious questions. However, this kind of evidence is more likely to matter in a fault-based divorce rather than a no-fault divorce. In no-fault cases, proving adultery may not impact the outcome. How phone records are used and obtained. Phone records from carriers usually show the date, time, and duration of calls or texts, but not the content. The device itself may hold more detailed information, which makes it important to preserve that data. If one spouse suspects cheating, they may need to act quickly, as phone companies often retain records for only about 1.5 years. To obtain these records legally, an attorney starts the subpoena process during the discovery phase of the divorce. This includes preparing forms, identifying the appropriate telecom provider, and properly notifying the spouse. A judge will evaluate the request to determine if the records are relevant to the case. An attorney may also look for hidden or secondary phones, which are sometimes used to keep communications secret. These devices can contain incriminating content like texts or photos and are admissible when properly introduced through legal channels. Adultery, divorce type, and legal outcome. New York allows both fault-based and no-fault divorces. In a no-fault case, neither party needs to prove wrongdoing, so phone records might not even come up. However, in a fault-based divorce, especially when adultery is alleged, phone records can play a central role. The court may also consider adultery evidence when evaluating custody or property division. If a parent's infidelity negatively affects the child, it may influence custody decisions. Similarly, if marital funds were used to support an affair, like paying for gifts or rent for a non-marital partner, the court may adjust the distribution of marital property to account for that. Lawyers play a critical role in making sure evidence is properly gathered, legally obtained, and presented in court to strengthen your position. A law firm experienced in these matters can provide valuable guidance from the first step to the final ruling. When you're navigating a complex divorce and suspect infidelity, securing reliable legal advice is essential. Juan Luciano, divorce lawyer, is ready to help you handle sensitive issues with care and legal precision. Call 212-537-5859 or visit us at 347 5th Avenue, STE 1003, New York, New York, 10016, United States, to schedule your consultation.